It actually happened. One of the rarest endgames in chess, the knight and bishop checkmate, happened in a real game. I'm going to show you how we ended up here. And I'm going to show you, well, I'm not going to go into the entire technique, but I am going to talk a little bit about this. I have a video explaining how to win. But more importantly, I want to show you how do you end up in a position like this from a real game, because it's so rare. Let me just back up a few moves. I had this endgame where it was the knight and the bishop against the rook and the pawns. We were battling it out, and go forward a few more moves, we end up getting the knight and the bishop against the pawns, which ultimately goes into the knight and the bishop. I'm going to show you very quickly how we ended up here. Let's take a look. So we have a Scandinavian and Icelandic gambit that turns into some sort of weird French defense that I'm not really familiar with. I want to go quickly through the opening because I definitely made some mistakes here, got myself into a pretty rough position, and then I castled. Okay, and I totally missed the skewer here from the bishop, and already you can see the eval bar. I'm kind of in trouble this game. Okay, that being said, I decided to fight on and try to survive. Okay, we get the trade over here. This is an awful position for me. Not only am I down the material, but the rook has easy access to invade into the position on multiple files, which is really nice. I don't have great squares for my pieces. I'm totally getting crushed this game. He invades with the queen. I play queen f7, trying to somehow survive here, and he goes for the trade. The rook comes over. I'm trying to keep the rook out, so I position my knight and bishop this way. Of course, if he tries to skewer here, I'll be able to defend my knight. So he goes this way. I bring the king over, and I thought maybe I would have time to sneak around like this. Turns out I didn't really, because white's king gets there in time, and if I keep going up, which I did, but if I keep trying to do this, I'm just going to get checkmated. Okay, that's checkmate. And if I actually don't retreat right now and I do something else, he's going to go check. Sorry, he's going to go check. And now my knight is pinned. He's going to come here. He's going to take it. I'm in a bad situation. Okay, so back to the game. I realize I need to just run away from here. This is a bad idea. All right, let's go. I played g5. I'm trying to get a little tricky. I'm hoping that he's going to go for something like this. En passant, captures, captures, and then bam, I get the fork. And I'm able to at least get a knight and the bishop for the rook, and now I have some chances, right? Instead, he plays rook takes h7, which actually is even a little better for me, because now I just take the knight immediately. I'm still going to be able to get this pawn, and I don't lose this pawn. So that was a nice little break that I caught there. He tries to defend, but I just attack. And now we get the knight and the bishop, 3 pawns against the rook and 4 pawns. So this is interesting. He goes king b2, and I decide, you know what? My king needs to really come back over here to make sure I can stop these pawns, right? Okay, he attacks me. I bring the king over. He gets this one. So we have this really interesting situation. The 2 pawns and the rook, the knight, the bishop. My king is in a very good place, though, compared to his, which is nice, right? I'm just a couple of moves away from being able to support here. His king is kind of far away. I come over, he defends. I just positioned my bishop here. I wanted it to be defended. I didn't know what else to do. Knight to e4. Okay, I totally missed this move, knight f7. Apparently this was the way to go. Just attack the pawn, and he can't defend because my bishop, and he can't push because I take the rook. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I missed that. I was trying to do the same thing, except my version is not as good because I blocked my bishop off. That's why. Rook here, he makes a mistake, which allows my king to slide over. He should have went to f5. And I get 1 pawn. Great. Trying to hold on to these for as long as I can. And I'm also trying to take this pawn on h5. And you can see where this is going, right? At some point, he realizes he's having a hard time holding on to everything. And he makes the decision to sacrifice. Let's get... Oh, actually, he blunders. Never mind. There was a line, actually, he could have played. Let me show you this one. Right here. Let's see. Where was it? Yeah, right here. He could have decided to sacrifice, which is what I thought he was going to do. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to take... He takes this way, and in my mind, I was thinking maybe I can win this. Apparently, it's just a draw. The way that I thought I was going to win was going like this, and invading with my king, and then check. This is not a win for me? Wow, this is amazing. I thought totally this is a win. Okay, it's because he comes up here. Interesting. And what if I box out? Okay, here's the problem. If I try to run for this pawn, he's going to push, and I'm not able to get this in time. So I have to go here now to stop the pawn. But then he goes, and he's going to take my pawn. And there's not actually any way I can save everything, because if I try to save that, this guy's going to become a queen. And so I just have to basically say, okay, fine, and we get a draw like this. Interesting. Okay, so that's what should have happened. However, my opponent messes up and goes for this and gets forked. Now, it's not all bad news because he does get the 2 pawns, but that's not good enough because I still have a knight and a bishop. This is possible to win. You can checkmate with the knight and the bishop. I have a video on the channel. I'll link it in the description. If you want to learn, you can watch that technique. But the first step is I have to figure out how to get rid of these 2 pawns, right? So generally the easiest way to do this is to create some sort of blockade, okay? And so you'll notice on the light squares, because that's where my bishop is, I'm able to set up a blockade. So I put the knight, I go here, and bam. This is a blockade, because if you look carefully, all the pawns are stuck. Both pawns are stuck. You can't move it, I'll take it. You can't move it, I'll take it. And there's nothing else that you can do. Once you have the blockade, it's just a question of slowly, maneuvering your pieces into a better position to where you can actually take the pawns. So for example, he moves, I'm able to position my king in front. So now, just the king and the bishop can make the blockade. I don't even need the knight, which frees up my knight to go pawn hunting, right? So I go here. And you can always get some sort of position like this where it's Zugzwang, where he has to move away, right? Because your bishop's very good at doing that. He's forced to move away, and then I start gobbling up the pawns. And finally, we get the knight and the bishop. Now, there's something that you should know about the knight and the bishop checkmate. And it's that the opponent's king should always run to the corners that are the wrong color of the bishop, or that are the different color from the bishop. So this is a light squared bishop. It's on the light squares. He should run his king to this corner or this corner because that's where it's most difficult to get checkmated. The problem for white in this game is his king is already really close to this corner, right? Which is exactly where I would want him to be. So if he's not able to immediately escape, he's going to have some problems. And actually he can't because he tries, but I played knight here. And you'll notice this is a very common pattern with the knight and the bishop. You have your bishop controlling the light squares, you have the knight controlling the other square, and you get this nice little blockade. Look at this. All these squares are controlled. His king can't go that way, right? So he's forced back this way. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the whole technique. There is a video. I'll link it in the description if you want to see how to do this. But I knew from knowing that like, okay, he's in the right corner. It's just a question of how do I reposition my pieces. Now, if this would have been in the other corner, my whole technique would have changed. And there's this maneuver with the knight and the bishop that you have to do that I would have done. But in this game, I'm like, okay, he's already here. I just have to figure out how to get him all the way to the corner and then deliver the checkmate. So I repositioned my king. Again, I'm not allowing him to escape. We've got this blockade. Put my knight. Look at this. Look how like these pieces just work in synergy with each other to just create this amazing little box. You see that? This is a box that his king is in right now. So all I have to do is figure out, okay, how do I move this box down to the corner a little bit, right? So he goes here. I bring the knight around. And now, again, look at this. We have another box, but look at it. This. It's like a smaller box. You see that? Because the knight is helping take away the square. So slowly but surely, I'm actually making progress. So I reposition my king. Again, the box is still here, right? Look at the knight, look at the bishop. It's still here. He's still trapped. And eventually, I'm going to let him go to the corner, which I do now. And look at, because my king is here, the box has now moved. See how that worked? Before, the box was like up here, right? He was trapped like something like this. And then it was like this. And now it's like this. Okay, you see how that works? Moved it to the corner. And now it's just a question of make sure I get the tempo right. I go here, deliver the check, and then boom, checkmate. I don't know. There may have been one other time in a blitz game where I've actually gotten to do this, but this was like a legitimate, a real game. It ended, with the knight and the bishop. I had to do it in time pressure to win the game. Pretty fun experience, and I wanted to share that with you guys just because this is super, super, super rare. You don't see this very often, but there's a real life example. It does happen, and like I said, links in the description if you want to see that video. It's a little bit of an older video, but I explained the process very well there. Go check that out if you want. As always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.